Our one-shot build is back. Yes, I'm talking literal one-shot against all Uber Pinnacle bosses in Path of Exile using zero legacy items. We managed to overcome this league nerfs to missing enchantments and alternate gem qualities by getting even more damage. And best part, this build is still perfectly doable in league and for cheap. It is still designed, however, to only farm bosses and nothing else. That's because we needed to focus everything we have into damage to achieve the one-shot against Uber Pinnacles, leaving nothing when it comes to defenses. So don't go around trying to map with this build, as it is not made for that. Alright, as usual we begin with our Ascendancy. We are still a Marauder ascended into a Berserker. First we go for Aspect of Carnage. This node simply increases our total damage by 40% at the cost of taking 10% more damage. Arguably the simplest Ascendancy node in the game. Next we go for Warbringer. This node does three things. When you Warcry, you generate rage based on Warcry power as long as you are below 25 rage. And when you are above 25 rage, you instead sacrifice 10 rage when you Warcry to boost the damage of your next exerted attack by 50%. This is why we take this node. Next we have Crave the Slaughter. This node increases our maximum rage count by 10 and allows us to generate rage on hit. We mostly generate rage via the previous node, so we don't care about this one that much. We mostly take it to unlock the node behind it, and that is Rite of Ruin. This node triples the effect of rage on us. Rage increases attack damage, speed, and movement speed, and all of these things are more than welcome in any attack build. But with that we are done with our Ascendancy. Now let's take a look at our passive tree. Our tree focuses on attack damage, physical damage, accuracy, attack crit chance and crit multi, cold damage, elemental damage, and life regen. Next we have a large cluster jewel that adds the following notables: martial prowess, prodigious defense, and advanced guard, or really any other useful attack notables with damage on them. Next we branch off into two medium cluster jewels. Both adds the following notables: basics of pain and Skullbreaker. Our second large cluster jewel adds the following notables: Heavy Hitter and Strike Leader. Finally, we have one small cluster jewel that increases mana reservation efficiency. This one adds Spiteful Presence notable, which reduces hatred mana reservation, enabling our specific aura setup. This jewel must have either 25% or 35% increased effective added passives, as that will further increases our mana reservation efficiency. Now for mastery choices, we have 40% increased accuracy rating against unique enemies. Nearby enemies are intimidated while you have rage. Auras from your skills have 10% increased effect on you, 10% more maximum physical damage, plus 25% to critical strike multiplier against unique enemies, and 150% increased critical strike chance against enemies that are on full life. And that was it for our passive tree. Now let's talk about items. Our most important item in this build is Facebreaker Unique Gloves. This one greatly increases our physical attack damage as long as we're not wielding any weapon. This means two things. Without a weapon, we have no base physical attack damage to work with. Hence, we need to get that somewhere else. And second, we have no base crit chance because that usually comes from our weapon. We fix this with our second item, and that is Rigwald's Curse Unique Amulet. This amulet provides lots of stuff, but we only care about the 7% added base crit chance to unarmed attacks. The build doesn't function without it. Make sure to anoint Whispers of Doom on your corrupted amulet via Tainted Oil, since we are applying two curses in this build. Anyway, next we have Abyssus, an item that provides a lot of base physical damage to attacks, which is exactly what we need. The item also adds a lot of melee crit multi at the cost of making us take more physical damage. That downside is irrelevant since we can't map with this build anyway. Next we have another item that gives us good amount of physical damage: Replica Loreweave. This one grants us additional crit chance compared to the regular version at the cost of lowering our maximum resistances instead of increasing them. Again, an irrelevant downside because this build is glass cannon anyway. Our next mandatory item is Red Blade Banner Shield. Do you remember our Ascendancy? It allows our Warcries to generate rage based on their power. This shield gives our Warcries infinite power, meaning you will generate your maximum rage whenever you Warcry with this shield, and that's why we use it. Our next item is Ruslatha's Coil Unique Belt. This one increases our maximum physical attack damage and lowers our minimum one. The idea here is that you are increasing an already big number and lowering an already smaller one, resulting in higher average damage up to 30%. Yes, you are more likely to hit lower damage numbers with this build, but it is still better than every mirror tier build out there when you look at average damage. Also, we do have overkill damage in this build, which helps us combat unlucky damage rolls due to this build. Now for our rings, first we have the Warden's Brand unique ring. As a one-shot build, we only care about hit damage and don't care about attack speed penalties. This ring fits our build perfectly with its high flat physical damage added to attacks and reduced attack speed, which we don't care about. Our second ring is just a generic rare steel ring with flat physical damage, crit multi, life, and resistances. For our last item in this build, we got Relakash Impatience. These recently buffed boots passively grants us our maximum number of all charges all the time. In the context of this build, that's 150% increased critical strike chance and 16% more damage. They are best in slot, but you can always use Dawnbreaker as a cheaper alternative. But with that, we are done with our items. Now let's talk about gems that goes inside of them. For our main 6 link we have Ice Crash, Ruthless, Pulverize, Awakened Melee Physical Damage, Awakened Elemental Damage with attacks, and Awakened Elemental Focus. Next we have a 4 link that contains our primary auras. These are Hatred, Herald of Purity, Blood and Sand, and level 4 Enlighten. Next we got a 4 link manual curse setup. It contains Frostbite, Elemental Weakness, Intimidating Cry, and Life Tap support. Next we have another reservation setup. This one contains Summon Skitterbots, Bone Chill, Awakened Unbound Elements, and Berserk. Our last gem setup goes in our shield. In it we have Max Level Precision, Arrogant Support, and Ancestral War Chief. And that was it for our gems. Now let's talk about our jewels. For our Watcher's Eye, we have damage penetrates 15% cold resistance while affected by hatred, and any other damage mod you can get with it, like increased attack damage while affected by precision. Next we have 1 Forbidden Flame and 1 Forbidden Flesh jewels. Both of these must mention Tokuhama's War's Herald Chieftain Ascendancy node. This one will support our main 6 link Ice Crush setup with Fist of War, effectively doubling our damage. Any remaining jewel socket you have left must be filled with a normal rare jewel like this one. We are looking for flat physical damage and crit multi. Alternatively, you can just get a normal rare jewel with as much crit multiplier on it as possible. Alright, now let's talk about our one-shot combo. First, we want to slam the ground twice to prepare a ruthless hit. Next, once the boss becomes targetable, immediately cast Intimidating Cry and start dropping your curses while dodging. Once Intimidating Cry comes out of cooldown, that should be your signal to use it again with Berserk. Summon your totem and then slam the boss. Under no circumstance should you ever slam an Uber Pinnacle boss at the start of its fight, simply because Uber Pinnacle starts with massive damage reduction that decays over few seconds, and we prepare our combo during that time. Alright, now for Bandit's quest, we are going to help Alira as usual. As for Pantheons, we got the Soul of the Brine King and the Soul of Aberrath. And that was it for our strongest one-shot build in Path of Exile. If you guys have enjoyed this video, then feel free to leave a like and maybe consider subscribing so you don't miss out on any future build guide like this one. My name is Phoenix and I will see you all in the next video.